Dr. Shabir, do Muslims believe in reincarnation?
The short answer is no.
Okay.
So let me elaborate on that a little bit more. In the Judeo-Christian Islamic tradition, there is an idea that we die and then we are not reborn in this world, but we will be recreated for the Day of Judgment. And on the Day of Judgment, we stand before God to answer for all of our deeds in this life. And then eventually we are admitted into either paradise, if we are fortunate, or hell, if we're unfortunate. And of course, this depends on one's deeds. If one does the deeds that make one deserving of going to paradise by the grace of God, then one goes to paradise. If one does evil, then one goes to the unfortunate place. There is a middle ground that is referred to as Al-Araf in the Quran, the heights. And this is mentioned in the 7th chapter of the Quran, which takes its name from the mention of this special place. And that seems to be a temporary place, a kind of a stopping point for those who have managed to escape going to hell, and they're on their way to going to paradise, but they're halted for some time, and after a while they will eventually go into paradise as well. So it seems very little is known about that place. But now coming back to the actual question itself about reincarnation, reincarnation is basically a contrary view that says that people are going to be reborn into this very life here on this earth. There are some difficulties with the idea of reincarnation. One is that if we think about reincarnation to be limited to the human population, then you would have to account for the growth of the human population. How do you have more humans now than you used to have before? And so the idea has to be expanded to outside of the human population, in which case you're thinking that the human today could be an animal in another life, and an animal in a previous life may be a human today. So not only could we have been previous humans, but we could have been animals as well, or something else. Now, one of the difficulties with this has been pointed out by Peter Geach, a philosopher, and his point was basically that to prove that we were perpetrators of a certain crime, one might bring physical evidence, so that even if our memory fails and we can't remember committing a certain crime, we might be convinced by the evidence. Look, my fingerprint is there, my DNA evidence is there. Obviously, I was there. I cannot deny it, even though I forget now. Now, we forget previous lives. Most human beings we meet do not recall that they existed in a previous life. In fact, if somebody does remember that they existed in a previous life, this will be a very exceptional view. So if we have the view that we did actually exist in previous lives, even though we cannot remember our such existence, where is the physical evidence? So we have no memory of being there, and we don't have any physical evidence that we were there. Why should we even accept that we were there? Especially if it may mean that by accepting that we lived in a previous life, theoretically we are accepting that probably we committed crimes in a previous life. So why should we accept that we lived a previous life in which we might have done some horrible things if we have no memory of that previous life and there is no physical evidence that we actually existed in the previous life? So this is a philosophical point to ponder. I believe that the idea that we live once in this life has very strong scriptural support in both the Bible and the Quran, and it stands on reasonable grounds as well. We live the one life as a testing ground for the life hereafter.
Thank you for that answer, Dr. Shabir Ally.
You're welcome.